Princess Leonor captivates the world while Michelle Obama dominates headlines. Everyone expects the world's attention to move in one direction at a time. One headline, one dominant figure, one global conversation. In 2025, that expectation feels safe. Michelle Obama dominates headlines again. Her voice, her presence, her influence fill news cycles across continents. People know what to expect: strength, clarity, impact, a woman who has already defined her place in history. That is the familiar setting. But here is the moment that makes people stop scrolling. At the very same time Michelle Obama is commanding global attention, a young woman who barely speaks, rarely posts, and never chases relevance is quietly capturing hearts across borders. Princess Leonor. And the shock is not that both are visible. The shock is that they are captivating the world in completely different ways, without competing at all. Because this is not a story about replacing one woman with another. It is a story about how power is evolving. At first glance, the contrast seems obvious. Michelle Obama represents earned authority. A woman shaped by experience, leadership, and resilience. Someone who stands comfortably in her voice because she has already lived through scrutiny and emerged stronger. Princess Leonor represents potential, a future queen still in formation. Observed, trained, measured. Someone whose words are rare, but whose presence carries weight precisely because she is still becoming. So why are people talking about them in the same breath? Because the world is hungry for two things at once: wisdom and continuity. Michelle Obama speaks to a generation seeking reassurance that moral clarity is still possible in leadership. Leonor speaks to a generation wondering whether the next era will inherit those values or abandon them. And that curiosity is emotional. Leonor didn't enter this conversation by making statements. She entered it by standing still while history rushed toward her. A military ceremony, a state appearance, a moment of quiet composure under pressure. Those images travel differently than speeches. They don't argue, they invite reflection, and that is where the fascination grows. People watch Leonor not for what she says, but for what she seems to be learning in real time. The discipline, the restraint, the emotional control learned too early, at too high a cost. And suddenly, audiences start asking uncomfortable questions. What does it take to raise a future leader without breaking the person? King Felipe feels that question deeply. He knows the line between preparation and sacrifice. He has lived it. And now he watches his daughter walk that same path in a louder, faster world than the one he grew up in. Inside the royal family, this is not myth or media drama. It is daily tension. How visible is too visible? How human is too human? How much stillness can be mistaken for distance? These are not public debates, but they shape every decision surrounding Leonor. Meanwhile, Michelle Obama's visibility reminds people of something else. That leadership can be humane. That strength doesn't require coldness. That authority can coexist with empathy, humor, and openness. Viewers don't compare these two women because they want one to win. They compare them because they are searching for a bridge. A bridge between seasoned leadership and emerging responsibility. Between public confidence and quiet preparation. Between a completed legacy and one still forming. Leonor captivates the world not by competing with voices like Michelle Obama's, but by representing who must come next after voices like hers. And that comes with enormous pressure. Because Leonor is not allowed to fail. Publicly, she is expected to mature flawlessly. And yet, people lean closer each time she appears, hoping to glimpse something imperfect, something real, something that confirms she is not only a symbol, but a person. That is why her restraint reads as emotional depth, not distance. It suggests she is absorbing more than she reveals. In this moment, Princess Leonor and Michelle Obama are not sharing the spotlight. They are defining two ends of a timeline. One shows what leadership looks like when fully formed. The other shows how fragile and sacred the process of becoming truly is. And the world is watching both, not because they are similar, but because they are connected by one quiet question. What kind of power do we want tomorrow? Not louder, not trend-driven, but steady enough to last. That question has no headline answer yet. But it lives in Leonor's stillness. And that is why, even when louder names dominate the news, her presence continues to linger long after the scroll ends. What unfolds next is where this quiet fascination deepens into something lasting. Because once attention settles, what truly matters is how it stays. Michelle Obama's influence remains powerful because it is anchored in consistency. People trust her voice because they understand it. They know her values, her posture, her history. She has already crossed the bridge Leonor is only beginning to approach. Princess Leonor, on the other hand, exists in a space before certainty. And that space invites projection. Every gesture she makes feels loaded. A pause before speaking. A softened expression during formal duty. A moment where discipline gives way to visible emotion, quickly contained. These moments do not go viral because they are dramatic. They go viral because they are rare. In 2025, hypervisibility has made stillness stand out more than ever. And Leonor embodies stillness without fragility. That balance is difficult, especially under the pressure of monarchy. Inside Spain, this contrast is felt deeply. Older generations see in Leonor the protection of continuity, a sign that the institution they recognize is being carefully preserved. Younger generations see in her something different. They see someone attempting to navigate power without performance, authority without aggression, presence without oversharing. That resonates in a world exhausted by noise. This is where Michelle Obama's legacy quietly amplifies Leonor's rise rather than competes with it. Because Michelle Obama normalized a form of leadership that is both firm and emotionally literate. Leonor is being shaped to inherit that possibility, even within a much stricter framework. The palace understands this cultural shift. That is why Leonor's public education moments, military training, and formal speeches are increasingly framed around service and responsibility rather than spectacle. They are positioning her not as a celebrity royal, but as a prepared one. And people are responding, not loudly, but attentively. The longer Leonor resists the urge to perform personality, the more her authenticity feels intact. This is not accidental. It is strategy, yes. But it is also protection. Because history shows what happens to young women who become symbols too fast. They are consumed before they are complete. By allowing Leonor to remain slightly out of reach, the monarchy preserves her authority and her humanity. Meanwhile, Michelle Obama continues to occupy space as a voice of reflection and direction. Someone who can speak openly about growth, mistakes, resilience, and identity. In an unspoken way, these two women now represent a relay. One demonstrating what leadership looks like when fully lived. The other quietly preparing to carry its echo forward in a different context. That is why both command attention at the same time. Not because one threatens the other, but because together, they outline a full picture of influence across generations. The world doesn't need them to overlap. It needs them to exist simultaneously. And as 2025 unfolds, people are realizing something unexpected. While Michelle Obama anchors the present with wisdom, Princess Leonor is slowly anchoring the future with restraint. And that restraint, in an age of excess, may be the most powerful language of all.